Hello friends, welcome to Science with me. My name is Dr. Erica and I am so excited to be sharing our dissection unit with you. If this is your first time joining us, make sure you check out our YouTube channel and subscribe so you don't miss a video. You can support us at patreon.com, which gets us all of the future projects, all of the PDFs that we send out, and also into our Zoom room so you can join us with our friends as we do science together, not just through a video. It's a lot of fun. And today we are dissecting flowers for our dissection. So we've got we did a gummy bear lab. We're gonna be doing some put it together paper dissection kits. We also have some really cool online resources, but today we're gonna make some art by exploding flowers and learning about the parts of the flower, which I think is amazing because springtime is just around the corner. So we are gonna have lots of bees carrying pollen, and we're gonna be thinking about planting seeds, about how our flowers reproduce and become more. So this will be a fun project to learn all about those things. All right, so I have a couple of different flowers here, and you're gonna need a flower that you can take apart. I do have a download that you can use to figure out the different parts of a flower. This is for a carnation if you want to use a carnation. And then I suggest tape. I've got my trusty hot glue gun. I've got some tweezers because I thought that would be fun to pick things apart, and a pair of scissors. All right, so let's get started with the parts of our flower. So I'm gonna just cut my lily off. Just like that, we'll save the other one so it can grow a little bit more. And I'm actually already noticing on my paper, I have a whole bunch of pollen from this. That's gonna be fun. Maybe I can do something with that in a moment. All right, so this is the stem that's right here coming on our flower. And the peduncle is sort of right where it's connecting to our flower. So I'm actually gonna cut this stem off of my flower, and we're gonna make some art. So I'm just gonna, however you want your art to look, is the way I want you to do it. I'm gonna put my peduncle there, and then our flower is supported by some extra things. So it can't just be those petals, those beautiful, bright, vibrant things that give our flower the shape, attract those insects. They also have to have something for structure. Now in a lily, it's a little trickier to see what that is, and this is actually sort of the outer layer. These are called the sepals. Sometimes it's sort of like the little green leaves that are at the very bottom of the flower before it blossoms out. But these right here are my sepals. I have 3 of them, and they're the ones that are on the outer ring. And that gives our flower some structure. It's usually where it sort of is in its bud form. Those become the sepals as it branches out. So I have my 3 sepals, and then the question is, how do I want to put that on my art piece? I'm going to add a new glue stick. I'm just going to kind of liked the idea of hot glue for this. I've done this with kids where we did contact paper and we squished it between basically 2 giant pieces of tape. That was really cool. It made really beautiful art. All right, so I'm gonna put all my sepals. I think I'm gonna put them sort of the way I might see them on a flower. So I'm gonna just glue these down, and we can label it afterwards, like that. All right, so that gives my flower its support. Now I need to attract some bees to my flower so that they might carry the pollen to another flower to make more seeds and more lilies. And those are the inside pieces, are my petals. All right, you'll notice I have this great, like, huge chunk of thing right here. These are the reproductive organs, both male and female parts of my flower. We're gonna get to that in just a moment. First, I'm gonna put my petals on. I think I'm gonna put it maybe backwards. That could be kind of neat. It's gonna be your art. I really hope you do something really clever and unique with it. I'm gonna put mine on backwards. Kind of like that idea. I really like symmetry, so I think I'm gonna put my extra one on the top. So again, these petals really help attract critters. Some petals might have really interesting designs on it and things that we can't see, and wavelengths of light that we can't see. And that's kind of cool because it helps them, it can look like a landing pad for insects, which is pretty neat. All right, so I have my sepals that give me support. I have my petals that are attracting, And now I have sort of this middle part of my flower. So around the outside, these are the male parts of my flowers. I will pick it off with my tweezers. So this is a male part of my flower, and that produces the pollen. So up here I have my pollen right here. That is called the anther, and the piece that holds it up, that nice strong piece, that's called the filament, and that really helps sort of it get out, right? If you're a bumblebee, you can't get into this teeny tiny crevice. So that filament grows out so that insects can get there, and then you have this beautiful anther spot with all of that pollen. All right, and you'll notice there's a lot of these male filaments with the pollen, with those anthers, and that's because you want to produce a lot of pollen. It's going to go in the wind. A lot of it's going to settle in places that there's not another lily ready to take in the pollen, right? It might settle on trees. It might settle on your car. So it needs to make a lot more pollen than we might think it needs to. All right, I'm going to glue these. I think I'm going to glue them right on top like this, sort of like a rainbow. Oh, I love that that one stands up. That makes me really happy. All right. And of course, we want lots of flowers to be reproducing because that gives our bees lots of food, and our bees need food so that they can go and do their work pollinating crops. We like to eat crops, and if we don't have our crops, then we can't eat, right? If our bees don't have enough places to go and pollen to get, yeah, really big problem. All right, and I can see all this pollen right here. I'm wondering if I actually put some glue down, and maybe I should have thought about this before. What if I just take a little, oops, well, we'll just stick this in here now. I could do lots of little glue drops and then decorate my glue drops with the pollen. Kind of a cool idea. Ooh. Getting a little gluey now. And maybe I'll just stick this guy here. Like that. All right, so now I even got my pollen on there. That's kind of fun. All right, so now this is what we have left of our flower. It is just the very central piece. We did the male parts of the flower. That was the filament and the anther that created the pollen that goes out into the world. Now we need a part that will catch the pollen and bring it in and then produce seeds so that this lily can have more lilies around it. And this is the part that does it. So this is called the carpel. The whole thing is called the carpel. And inside that carpel, we have the ovary, which is right down here, the little part. That's where the seeds are going to be produced. All right. And then we have the stigma, which is the part that catches the pollen. And you can actually already see it's caught some of its own pollen already. Now we really want to catch pollen from another flower. And part of that is so that we can sort of mix things up. And the more that we mix, the better and stronger we are in terms of famine or a disease. If you have all the same DNA, you can be really susceptible to getting really sick really quickly. All right, so what we could do if you'd like to, we can, I think I'm just gonna break this right here. And I am gonna cut down the middle of this. I'm curious to see what it will look like. And we have the flower, so why not? In your head, you could ask yourself, do I think it'll be hollow or solid? What would your guess be and why? All right, we're gonna cut all the way up. Maybe you can hear the sounds that this is making. And now, as it's opened up, you can see there's a long tube that goes down that. So this is a hollow. And the reason why it's hollow is so that the pollen can fall down into that tube and it can get to the part that will create the seeds, right? If it was up here, the pollen never gets down to the ovary and we don't have any new lilies, which would be a bummer. Okay, so I can, maybe I'll put this guy like over here like that. Didn't glue very well because it's wet. And I opened it up. Let's see, put the dry side down. Maybe I think I'm gonna do this one this way. And again, this is the fun part of this is just creating some art as we learn about those parts of the flower. All right, so now we have our ovary part, and we can cut this part up. Now this is where, if I wanted to make more lilies and save my lilies and plant lilies later, I could grab the seeds out of this. And maybe I'll cut the bottom off first, and we can then cut through here and see what we might see. Just like that. And this whole spot is going to make some stuff. I see something that's really, barely visible. Probably not to you guys. There's a teeny tiny little bit of orange that's right in here. Don't think I can get that out. But this is where our seeds are going to be produced, and that is called our ovary, kind of like little eggs. We can put that on here, and then we have successfully exploded a flower, which is a lot of fun. You could add a second flower too, and you could add things from a flower like the leaves, the side leaves. This helps give our flower, it helps it bring in the sunlight, which gives our flower energy, right? We need that energy, which is really important. And again, this flower doesn't have the sepals like we're used to seeing of just sort of green, almost leafy, but these outer three, they're really strong. They're giving it that structure. So I could even add in a secondary flower. And you'll notice as we do the second flower, they seem really similar. So I have my sepals. You'll notice my sepals are less decorative than the flower or than the petals. And that's because the petal's job is to get those insects in there. So it's attracting those insects, saying right here, this is where you want to be. Come right here. And the goal is that as they do that, they'll bring pollen from a different flower to them. I could put, now these are the petals of this flower, which are beautiful. And again, here I have the male parts of my flower. Got some glue on my thumb. The male parts of my flower, the anthers and the filaments that go around the circle of the female part. And I've got 6 of them. I think that is usual for all flowers. I had 6 in the lily. I have 6 here. Maybe it's a certain type of flower. So I can pull these off, glue them like maybe right here if I wanted to. And you'll notice that even though these are different flowers, they have the same sort of makeup. Here is my female part. This is the part that's going to catch that pollen and turn it into seeds. So I could put that maybe here. And then again, here's where the seeds are going to be made. This is the ovary of my flower. I could cut it open and see what I see inside. Just like this. And in this one, you can actually see where those seeds would be produced. They're very green right now because they haven't been pollinated. And it's not that time of year where they've been developed and they can go out to seed, but you can see sort of the structure of these little teeny tiny bubbles that would become the seeds of a future flower, which is cool. And I can put that on just like that. And now I have my exploded flower art. A lot of fun. It's gonna be a great way for you to learn about these flowers, do some art, get your hands messy, just make something beautiful. And then of course, send it to me because I will be super sad if you make something amazing and you don't send me a picture. I love seeing your guys' projects. All right, thank you so much for joining us. We are doing owl pellets tomorrow. I can't wait to see what you guys find in your owl pellets. It's an online program so that you can do it at home without even getting your hands messy. But if you find that you love this dissection stuff, make sure you check out biologyproducts.com because they have owl pellets, they have worms, they have frogs, they have sharks that you can dissect. If this is something you're falling in love with, that's a great resource for you. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye, friends.